Hello everyone, DJ here. This week we're going to talk about a deep topic. It's going to be possibly a little complex. I'll do my best to keep it simple, just like always. So let's say you're finally at the point that you can't hide your medical problems from the unit anymore. And believe it or not, there are people who do this. They have problems, but they keep it to themselves. They don't tell anyone about it. They're afraid perhaps that it would cut their career short and cause them to lose any retirement benefits they may have earned or they're on the way to earning. So let's just say you've finally had to come clean and tell your unit that you have problems, and the Fit for Duty board has checked things out and told you that you're no longer fit for continued service in the military. Great, you're probably saying to yourself, I don't have 20 years yet, so now I've just lost all of the benefits that I was on the way to earning. Am I right? Is this what you were thinking? This is what a lot of people think. Believe it or not, there's still hope. Do you have at least 15 qualifying years of active and reserve service combined? If that answer is yes, then you haven't lost anything. I'll go into how that actually works. So, as I've already pointed out and strongly implied, there is a vesting point or a point at which you cannot lose benefits that you've already earned. That point can happen before you hit the 20-year mark. So, what is that mark? It is the moment you hit 15 qualifying years, good years as we often call them. So somewhere between being found unfit for service and that discharge that occurs when you have that determination, make sure you have at least 15 qualifying years. If that happens, then you can receive an early notice of eligibility for retired pay. In the National Guard, we call it a 15-year letter. And you can still, with that letter, receive all of the retirement benefits that you would get at the 20-year mark when you hit age 60, or earlier if you have qualifying active duty. This fact comes as quite a surprise to a great many reservists who thought they had lost everything because of medical disqualification. For example, just 2 weeks ago, I was teaching a class to a group of reservists, Army reservists, in another town, and brought up this little tidbit of information. I noticed a bit of increased electricity in the room and took a moment to gauge the audience, so to speak. Of course, when pardon me, I'm checking my notes here. When I asked them to state whether or not this was useful information, not without acknowledging themselves, like raising a hand or anything. There was an interesting reaction to that. While no one was raising hands, as I had told them not to do, there were several heads nodding, up and down, north, south. That was enough to get several questions fired my way. And it caused some very interesting discussion as a result. So I'm going to talk to you about some of those questions and some of the options that are available to you if this circumstance fits yours. So one of these people asked a very interesting question. Why is it called a 15-year letter? I have 17 years of service. Well, that answer is simply put that it's just a term. It's based on the fact that you have 15 qualifying years of service or more, but less than 20. And we just call it a 15-year letter because it's at that point that you can get this early notice of eligibility. Another guy asked, if this is going to happen to me, how is my retired pay calculated? He asked if it was prorated in some way, as if he were already having completed 20 years of service. Well, I thought that was unique. I haven't had that question before. But the answer is no, your pay would not be prorated, but it would be based on the retirement points that you have earned during your career. So anything you've earned up to the point that you're separated for medical disqualification, you retain, and when it's time to apply for retired pay, your pay is based on those points that you have. Other than the obviously lower number of points that you would have as a result of a shorter career, your pay and your benefits are exactly the same as if you had finished 20 or more years. In fact, they're the same as any other retiree, be they active duty or reserve. Once you're actually receiving those benefits, there's no difference in the eyes of the Department of Defense, whether you're a reservist or an active duty retiree. The only exception to that would be for what's called concurrent retirement and disability pay, or CRDP, or sometimes we just call it concurrent receipt. That's based on a full 20 or more year career, and for people who don't meet that particular qualification, they would not be eligible for concurrent receipt. I'll do a separate episode in this series specifically about what concurrent retirement and disability pay is and how it works. So we'll look forward to that in the next few weeks. Other than that, everything is exactly the same as if you had a 20-year career. So the next question that came my way was, do those medical problems have to have been caused by a line of duty type injury? In other words, do you have a completed and qualifying line of duty investigation to go with that injury? Is that required in order to qualify for a 15-year letter? Again, very simply, no. You don't have to have line of duty injuries as the incurring event for your injuries. You could actually be on your way back from the grocery store or working around the house and have an injury which renders you unfit for continued service, and you would still be eligible for that 15-year letter I mentioned. The only difference, or rather the only exception to that would be is if the injury was caused by negligence or misconduct on your part. A good example would be drunk driving. So if you were driving drunk and got injured and couldn't serve in the military anymore, that would not be a qualifying injury, qualifying medical condition for a 15-year letter. So, as always, keep your nose clean, right? And after a few other questions, which I don't recall right now, it was obvious that the fact that you could still retain retirement benefits was quite a relief for the soldiers in this room. I asked how many of them had been concerned about losing their benefits as a result of medical issues, and at this point, a lot of people actually raised their hands. In fact, it was more than the number of people who had just nodded earlier. So I thought that was quite interesting. This is a very common concern with people in the National Guard, so I was not surprised to see that it applied to other components as well. So, what does all this mean to you if you're having medical issues of some sort? It means, my dear audience member, that if you have good years, 15 at least, and you want to try going down this path, then it's time to stop trying to push through the pain and difficulty of these medical issues and present your problems to your unit. Bring all the medical documentation you have, be it VA records, primary doctor records, whatever you've got related to those issues, and present them to your unit. They should send those through channels and have a Fit for Duty board review your issues and make a determination on whether you're fit for continued service or not. Now keep in mind that you might be asked to go to your primary doctor or a military doctor for review of some of those problems just to get more information and more documentation. That could happen. If that board decides that you're no longer fit for continued service, meaning you don't fit the medical retention standards of your particular branch of service, then you will be notified. And at some point, of course, there'll be a discharge order coming your way. When you receive that discharge, hopefully before, but certainly soon after, your branch of service should generate and send to you this early notification of eligibility for retired pay. Now, when you get that nifty little thing in your hand, that notice of eligibility, this is just like getting a 20-year letter. You have some responsibilities. You need to make a reserve component survivor benefit election, just like you would with a 20-year letter, within 90 days of getting that notice of eligibility. Please do this. This is essential because I have seen more than once, in fact, dozens of times, when people, whether they had 15 or 20-year letters, did not make reserve component survivor benefit elections and then died before they could get their retired pay and sadly left their families without being able to receive any sort of survivor benefit at all. I've done a lot of videos and articles in the past about survivor benefits, so please take a look at those, and I'll put links to some of them in the show notes for this episode, so that if you don't know how survivor benefits work, you can get a crash course on it and learn exactly what options are available to you. Now, let's back up a little. Before that discharge order hits, or separation order if you're an officer, make sure that your branch of service knows. They should already, but just in case, make sure they know you have 15 qualifying years and you want to be transferred to the retired reserve, not discharged completely from the military. The Army Reserve, for example, if you don't specifically request transfer to the retired reserve, will just discharge you completely. And that can have quite detrimental effects on the benefits you have between discharge and full retirement. And it can also have a detrimental effect on the amount of pay you receive. So in order to avoid that, make sure your branch of service knows you want a transfer to the retired reserve, not a complete discharge. Once you have those transfer orders, we'll just call it that, then you are good to go until full retirement age. Well, that's, at this point, about 13 minutes or so of me ranting. I hope this has helped you gain a better understanding of the options that are available to you. I really do. If not, then please be sure to comment below or send me an email with your questions, and I will answer them very quickly. Of course, comments are welcome even if you don't have questions. Is this useful? Is it not? Is there something I missed? Something else you'd like to see? It's always material for future episodes, I'd say. And of course, if you think this episode with this information would be useful to other people, then please share this episode with them. Send it to everyone you know that might find it useful. Let's get this information into everybody's heads. I know I keep saying information a lot. Let's get this into people's heads and help them make informed decisions. As the cliche says, knowledge is power. So let's give that power to everyone to whom it might apply. All right. Well, once again, I thank you for being part of this audience. I thank you for your service. And of course, for my YouTube viewers, if you like this episode, please click like or subscribe to this channel so you can be informed of future episodes. Thanks again. Have a great day.